That probably sounds good.
Yeah, looks good to me. Yeah. All right, guys, what's up? What's going on? We're back with We're Doing Fine with Connor James, and I got a guest today, my buddy Taylor Nauta. What's going on, Taylor?
Man, just being busy.
Yeah, man, you drove all the way over here from where? Watson? Mm-hmm. Is Watson past Denham Springs?
Yeah, north of Denham.
You kind of live by Southern Rhythm over there, by that.
I don't live that far. That's actually in Greensburg, I believe. Like, that's in St. Helena Parish. I'm still in Livingston Parish.
Yeah, he calls it Watson. He actually calls it Denham Springs, but it's like, man, you're like 45 minutes from Denham Springs.
That's no man's land. That doesn't belong to anywhere.
Exactly. It's tough to go out there and play sometimes, but it's a cool little venue out there. You played there before?
I did my first album release there.
Mm-hmm. That's whenever we both played together.
Yeah, and I pulled 154 people out there that night. And I was pretty happy about that. I was worried nobody was going to show up.
If you can get 100 people and more to that place over there, I mean, that was a great night. That was awesome.
Yeah, I had friends come from states away for that. It really surprised me.
Oh, Darren Jones and Kyle Wilson played. It was a me, Kyle Wilson, and then did Darren play at all?
He got up and jammed with me towards the end. Yeah, him and Kyle both got on stage with me. You and Kyle both opened. And, but Chase Tyler ended up showing up.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of music friends came and showed their support, and that really meant a lot. And like I said, I got this couple I didn't expect to see. Dave and Mary Troutman came from Tennessee all the way down there to see me too. So I had a few friends from Tennessee came down. Brian McAdams.
Yeah, that was a cool little album, dude. You had all that artwork that you had done to it. That was really 70s vibe.
I spent a few $100 on that poster.
I guarantee it.
But I wanted it to look cool. Hired an artist and
makes it all worth it.
Yeah, and you know what? To date, that's been my best-selling T-shirt. That print, everybody liked that print.
Yeah, man, that's like Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, I haven't had another T-shirt designed since then that people have liked as much.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, dude, I wanted to get you on here on the podcast. I haven't had a musician on yet, so I wanted to get your story. I know you've been to Nashville, so we'll just kind of go through that. But I wanted to ask you, where'd you grow up at, and I know you've been all over the place. Where'd you grow up?
So I joke and I'd say that I'm the man from nowhere because there's nowhere I can go where people are like, "You're from here, huh?" There's nowhere I can go where people aren't like, "Where are you from, man?" After hearing me talk a bit. Because I was born here. I grew up in Utah, and then at 17 joined the Army. After my Army thing, I went straight to the Nashville, and I lived in Tennessee for quite a few years, and then came back here. So.
Did you go to high school over? So you were born in Denham?
No, I was born at Women's Hospital.
Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
okay.
Yep. But I grew up in Utah, South Jordan, Utah.
Where's the connection there? Your dad or mom or?
So my mother's from Utah. She's born and raised there. My dad is from here. My dad grew up here, went to Central High School and all that stuff. The whole Nauta family's from Central. So.
Okay.
But yeah, my mom's from Utah, and they got married. I'll try to make this story as short as possible. My dad met my mom. He went to Utah, went to school out there. He did some college at LSU and then switched to a different university in Utah. Met her out there. They got married there but moved here, had me. And I don't think my mom was she wasn't cut out for Louisiana. The humidity,
go where the
bugs,
woman wants to go.
Yeah, so she eventually poked and prodded him long enough to go back out there. He got a big job out there, and he's still out there. My folks still live there. And as a kid, I couldn't wait to get away from there because I felt like Utah was a stuffy place and
Was it pretty? I mean,
it was beautiful, but I mean in terms of rules, you know what I mean? It's
okay.
A lot of Mormons, and it's like that's kind of
that's right.
like the cultural sort of backdrop of it. So
were you a Mormon?
I grew up Mormon. I sure did. Yeah,
really?
My dad, my whole family's Catholic mostly on my dad's side, and he joined the Mormon church when he was like 17 or 18 for a girl he fell in love with. And she wouldn't marry him unless he was Mormon and went on a mission and all that. So he went on a mission. And while he was on the mission, that chick broke up with him and left him for somebody else. And I think he was forced with the decision. He was like, well, shoot, do I leave this mission and go home, or do I double down on this and find me another Mormon girl later? Because I think, I don't know. My dad, he might be watching this at some point, but I'll say it anyway. He probably didn't want to. His pride probably couldn't handle going home and telling having his family be like, "I told you so. I told you you shouldn't have joined that other church." But he doubled down on it, and then went to BYU in Utah, which is where he met my mom. Found him another Mormon girl, had me, and I don't know. Mormonism never was for me. It made me feel claustrophobic. Too many rules, too dogmatic, and
It
I
is.
I eventually left that tradition in my early adult years. But and like I said, as a teenager, I couldn't wait to get away from Utah, get away from feeling like I, kind of under the thumb of like religious control and what have you. But now that I'm grown, I spend my own money every year to go back, and I go back and I play shows out there because it's beautiful. The mountains,
I
the
always
rivers, the
wanted to
streams.
know your connection to Utah because like you frequent there, so you actually have
Yeah.
some family there.
Oh, yeah, my mother and her whole side of the family, and I got a lot of friends there, and I do a lot of fishing there. I go play
Yeah.
shows, and I go fly fishing all over the mountain streams and stuff. Utah is rad, and when it comes to like the outdoor stuff,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
definitely.
Man, it's amazing.
What
Yeah.
let me grab this air. I can cut this out real quick, but I got to turn this air off because it'll be so loud. All right. Well, tell me some like about the Mormon. Was your dad was always Mormon?
No, he was Catholic.
He was
his whole
Catholic and
life.
then switched to Mormon.
Yeah, when he was 18, I think.
So
Yeah.
tell me what the Mormons do that I don't know. That's like much different. Give me some insight. In
Man,
the
well,
Mormons.
it's like almost the antithesis of Louisiana culture because, here in Louisiana, everything's about, it's very much a drinking culture, very much a party culture, eat, drink, and be merry, and a lot of dancing and music. And Louisiana is a party
Yeah.
all the time, right? And that's what I love about Louisiana. It's like what I've always identified with about it. And as a kid growing up in Utah, we'd come back here all the time to visit family, and I was always like, why didn't we just stay here? Like this is cool.
Way to go back to the rules.
Yeah, go back to where you don't drink, you don't dance, and you don't vote Democratic. You know what I mean? That seems like the three the rule. No, it's just like Utah is just real strict. Mormons don't drink alcohol, they don't drink coffee, they don't smoke, they don't drink tea.
They don't drink tea.
They don't.
Or
Look,
coffee?
man, and you can't even make sense of the rules because they're like, look, no coffee. Well, how come? Well, because the Book of Mormon says, or Doctrine and Covenant says, hot drinks are not for the body. It's like, but y'all drink hot chocolate. Yeah, well, that's because it doesn't have caffeine in it. I'm like, but y'all drink energy drinks.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're not hot. So. Okay, well, whatever, man. Like, it's like at the end of the day, Mormons, the big thing that it makes them differ from other religions is they literally think that Joseph Smith was a prophet, like Moses, and they think that his successors are prophets, like Moses. They think that they have a current prophet now, who's a prophet, seer and revelator, mouthpiece of God, and that what he says is scripture, not to be argued with, not to be questioned, not to be doubted. When he says jump, you just say how high, and you just be obedient. So if they say don't drink coffee and tea, it doesn't matter why. You just don't. You just obey the prophet. They even have a little song that you learn in like school, like Sunday school as a kid, and the lyrics are follow the prophet, follow the prophet, follow the prophet, don't go astray. Follow the prophet, follow the prophet, follow the prophet. He knows the way.
Yeah, that's like cultish, kind of.
No, it is. It
Not
really
that-
is.
I'm sure there's nice Mormons out
Well,
there. I'm
look,
just
Mormon.
saying.
Don't get me wrong.
The
folks.
Church of Christ is
Church of
could
Jesus
be
Christ
like
of
that too,
Latter-day Saints,
you know?
as they like to be called, the Latter-day Saints. LDS people are really fine people. They're like salt of the earth. They really are. They're very kind. They're very generous. They have one thing they do better than most churches is they have like a real strong sense of community. They really do band together and like help each other out, take care of each other, look after each other. Like if you're sick, seems like every lady in your church dumps off a freaking casserole and some cookies and whatnot on your doorstep. And I can't say the same thing of all other denominations. I've never seen any denomination that like looks after their own as well as they do. So I'll sing their praises to that effect, but I don't like a bunch of arbitrary rules, and I personally don't believe that any man has a monopoly on the truth. And I don't think
What's so curious,
you know what I mean?
weird about it is, like the religion started 100 years ago.
no longer than that. It was like 1830.
Yeah,
something
and like he
that.
found a book on a hill, or came it to him at 16 years old, or
Well, an angel led him when he was a teenager out into a grove of trees in New York and led him to where a set of golden plates was buried that bore a record of an ancient group of Israelites that around the time of the prophet Jeremiah in the Old Testament left Israel and traveled by barge, boat, across the ocean to land somewhere in the modern day Americas, and there, according to that book, the Book of Mormon, which is, Joseph Smith claims an angel led him to these gold plates and that he translated them with magic rocks and a hat, and that's how he got the Book of Mormon. And then after he was done translating the Book of Mormon, the angel took the plates back. So well, can we see the plate? Well, no, the angel took them back, so you can't see them. Well, that's convenient, But so as the story goes, these ancient Israelites that wrote these plates came from Israel and went to by boat somewhere to maybe South America, Central America. Over the centuries, migrated their way up to modern day New York. And the last surviving one buried the plates, and Joseph Smith eventually was led there by an angel. Oh, and by the way, they believe that or at least they used to believe, that those ancient Israelites, through their sinfulness, some of them, you had like a brother named Nephi and a brother named Laman. And Laman, because of his sinfulness, his rebelliousness, was cursed with dark skin, and all of his descendants were cursed with dark skin, and they became the Native Americans. So the Mormons believe all Native American tribes are the descendants of this Laman character, and that the Lamanites ultimately killed off all the Nephites, and the last surviving Nephite is the one who buried these plates where Joseph Smith would later find them hundreds of years later. That is such a racist doctrine, man. Like, to me,
You're
like,
quite well read on this.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I grew up in it. You know what I mean, and I'm kind of like a theology nerd anyway, but it never sat well with me that you're trying to say that, they believe, Mormons taught that Native Americans have dark skin because they were descended from a sinful man who was cursed with dark skin. They believe that the black folks are descendants of Cain and that they're cursed with black skin because of their some sinful ancestor. And I think that is just a load of nonsense.
I think each religion has a little bit of that in it, but
probably so.
We won't stay too much on that, but I mean, that's interesting.
That's Mormonism in a nutshell.
Yeah,
it's just a lot of rules, a lot of strange beliefs that you're not allowed to question, and that just not being allowed to question doesn't sit well with me. I'm an inquisitive person, kind of a natural born skeptic, and
so being growing up through that, is that kind of what led you to go to the military? Was that have something to do with it?
Probably. I wanted a way out of it. You know what I mean?
You're like, I mean, a lot of people do find a way out by going to the military. So you went at 17, which is rare sometimes, because you got to get your parents to sign off on it.
Yeah, and I didn't think they would, but they did. Maybe they wanted to get rid of me too.
Where'd you go?
Well, I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic and all that.
Well, what branch?
Army National Guard. So I joined the National Guard. I was a combat engineer, 21 Bravo back then. I think it's 12 Bravo now.
What does that mean?
So you blow stuff up.
Okay.
You make things go boom.
So you did you ever get deployed anywhere? You went overseas anywhere?
No, I never did. I'm not like, I hate to say it, but it's like my military career was short and not very glorious. I wasn't in very long because, when I was 18 years old. So I used to do high school rodeo. I used to ride bareback horses.
Oh, what?
And I wasn't very good at football and things like that. And one day at school, I learned that we had a rodeo club, and I kind of got along with the cowboy kids. I was kind of a hillbilly anyway. So, but they're like, hey, you want to come to the buckouts with us? And I don't know. I tried it, and I kind of had a knack for it. Maybe that's not even true. I really wasn't all that good at it. I was good enough. But I noticed that it got attention from the cowgirls, and I liked that. So that was worth all the bumps and bruises alone. That was worth doing it, right? So I did that, did high school rodeo. So anyway, while I was in the Guard, I still kept doing it. I should have just stopped doing it. I ended up letting one of my buddies talk me into riding in a little jackpot rodeo, and I got hurt. In all the years doing high school rodeo, I never got hurt, but it's a matter of when, not if. You do rodeo long enough, you're going to get hurt. So I got hung up in the rigging one day, and I got drug all around the arena with my hand stuck in the rigging. And then finally, when I was able to get my hand out, I landed on all fours, and this horse stomped my shoulder right here and just tore my shoulder out. So
that was you got to be on it for 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. Hey, I stayed on 8 seconds that time. I just got hung up afterwards. But I tore my shoulder up. And that got me booted out of the Army. Long story short.
We used to have high school rodeos. It used to be a thing around here. I think they still do it now here and there. But I remember being a kid, being like 10 or 11 years old, and then we'd go to the high school rodeo out on Friday nights, and it'd be like, oh my gosh, these people are getting on the back of bulls, and they're in high school, and it's like that's like grown men.
Oh yeah.
And I can't even imagine looking back at kids in high school now, like a 16, 17-year-old, it's like that dude's getting on a bull or a horse. I think a horse is a little scarier.
And the shorter and stockier you are, the better you are at it. I was kind of a tall, lanky kid, so like bareback riding, bronc riding, that works pretty well because you need to be able to reach out with your legs and mark out and all that. I was not a very great bronc rider, but I was a way worse bull rider because bulls spin, and if you're tall, you got a high center of gravity, and off you go.
Horses like buck way up in the air.
They do jump higher and they run faster, and statistically, bareback riding is the most dangerous sport in rodeo. It's the most dangerous event. There's more injuries.
Bareback means no saddle?
You just got a rigging. You got this little rawhide handle that you wedge your hand in.
It's just a rope tied around them?
It's not a rope. It's a tall handle that kind of sits up high. And it's hard. And I used to wear this glove that had a palm piece in it and kind of like a little nipple that extended off so you can go and like stick your hand in there. But that's also what gets you stuck in the rigging. Because it's hard to pull it back out, But yeah, so it's not a saddle, and that's why it's so dang rough too. Because you get your hand up in that rigging, and you lean back, and you tuck your chin down, and that first jump, you need to, when the hooves land, your feet have to be up on the point of the shoulders. If they're not, you get no score.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you have to mark out, and usually people will wait 2 jumps, jump, and then they start spurring, start raking their spurs back. And if you spur jump for jump for jump, that shows you have control, and it gives you better score.
Okay.
Half of your score is for your performance, and the other half of the score is the horse's performance. So if you do a great ride, but the horse was a piss poor jumper, then you're going to have a pretty low score.
So after your shoulder got dislocated and whatnot, that's why you were in the military? Yeah. That happened? So what was that, a year or two?
Yeah, just shy of 2 years, I think. And, my after I was kind of just left with like, well, what am I going to do now? Well, shoot, I'm going to take my guitar and move to Nashville. I'm going to take my hand at being a country musician. I moved to Nashville with 2 guitars and a duffel bag full of clothes and about $1,800 in the bank.
How old were you?
Like 18 and some change, like not even 19. But looking back, that was dumb. $1,800 is not enough money.
Well,
to get started.
You get only young and dumb once,
Ain't that the truth?
Tell me about Nashville. What'd you do where were you headed? When you're like, I'm moving to Nashville, where are you going?
So this story just keeps getting crazier, bro. But so not only did I not have enough money or enough preparation, because I just went. You know what I mean? I just decided I was going to do it and move there just a couple months after deciding I was going to move there, and much to the chagrin of my parents, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and they're all like, "You're just gonna go to Nashville?" Yeah, I'm just gonna do it, and I did. And it was crazy. And I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any connections. I had an aunt who had a friend who lived there. And my aunt called her friend, and that friend was crazy enough to let this kid that she'd never met live with her for a while, rent-free, while I looked for a job. She's like, yeah, if you come here, I'll let you live with me for like a month or two while you find work and what have you. So she did, man. I went in there, lived with this, and she actually was really, really nice. Her name was Vicky. She let me stay with her.
Shout out, Miss Vicky.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Miss Vicky. Appreciate you still. She probably is going to watch this. She still comments on stuff every now and again.
There you go.
But stayed with her for a while, got a job working at Gibson, building guitars.
Oh, what? They don't even they don't have the Gibson factory. They used to have one in Memphis, and then they moved out.
No, they still got a factory in Memphis. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it started out in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and then went to Nashville, and then they later built that Memphis factory, and then they did a Montana factory for the acoustics.
Mm-hmm.
So all their hollow body guitars, like the 335s and 137s and what have you, those are made in Memphis. But your solid body electrics, Les Pauls, SGs, Flying V's, Explorers, those are all made in Nashville. And that's...
Were you building guitars at Gibson?
Yeah. I worked in the body line. I was the guy. putting binding on Les Pauls, carving the tops on Les Pauls. Sometimes I'd cut neck pockets using this little jig, but mostly binding and top carving. If you have a Les Paul from the second half of '06 or really any time in '07, there's a 1 in 3 chance that I built that guitar, that I had my hands on it. Because there was only 3 of us binding guitars and only
That's
3 of us
crazy.
carving tops.
So everything is handmade.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it's a big factory, but there's no one person building a whole guitar, but people are doing every piece of it. Everything that's done on those guitars is by hand for the most part. You have a CNC machine that like rough cuts the shape of the body and does some of that, but very much a human built thing.
the where we hunt out here in Morganza, the guy's name was Bomer Smith. He just passed away in August, but he has like 1,000 acres out there, and he would Gibson would buy his wood from him and ship it to I forget what kind of wood it was, but he had a bunch of cypress out there. I don't think they made guitars with cypress. It was some kind of special wood that he had. They would send it to. Oh, it was Fender. He would send it to out in California.
But look, Gibson uses all kinds of wood for all kinds of things. They have a huge like storage room full of wood, and they'll do limited things for people out of random stuff. Willie Nelson, while I was working there, brought in some barn doors off of his property. He had like this big farm somewhere, maybe in Texas, and it was like an old barn, and he brought in these doors and wanted as many guitars made out of these doors as possible. And Gibson built him 3, had enough usable wood off of them to make 3 Americana guitars. You ever seen a Gibson Americana?
I don't believe so. No.
It's a cool guitar. It's kind of like a Chet Atkinsy sort of thing. It looks like a classical guitar, but it's not. It's a solid body. Looks like a classical
Americana
guitar.
Ranger.
Just look up Gibson Americana, but it's got like a fake sound hole. It's an electric guitar that looks like a classical guitar, you know. And but anyway, these old barn doors had wormholes in them, and like there's like musket ball holes in them. I think they dug a couple of like bullets and musket balls out of it, and there's like nail holes. They were just, you looked at those doors and you didn't think it was possible to build a nice looking guitar, but those guitars turned out cool. And I don't know if there's any pictures of those guitars on the internet, but they were dope. And if cell phones would have existed back then, like smartphones, I would have took a picture.
How long did you work at the factory?
About 1.5 years, I guess. I had to quit because it's hard to work at Gibson and have a life, much less a budding music career. The hours were nuts. Henry owned Gibson at the time, and he was just like a slave driver, man. You worked like long hours. You just have mandatory overtime, sometimes 6-7 days a week for an undetermined amount of weeks.
Mandatory overtime.
Yeah. He would just send out a bulletin saying, nobody has any days off till further notice. We're working 12s until we get this limited run out. And what sucks is like sometimes you'd get like, he would just decide, because he'd work a big deal with Musician's Friend or whatever big vendor, to do a limited run of 1,100 zebra wood Les Pauls, let's say, or so many of this or so many of that. And we just had to crunch until we got them all out. And we'd see some light at the end of the tunnel. We'd be busting our butts to get it done. And right as soon as we finished those, he'd spit out another one.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody. Well, now we have a limited run of X amount of thousand of these. And like, Jesus Christ. Like, mandatory overtime again. Like, there was literally sometimes months where you just didn't have time off.
Did you make a guitar for yourself?
No.
Ever get one of those?
You know, what's crazy is that Guitar Center employees get better discounts on guitars than Gibson employees.
Oh, man, you would think if you were there for a year, they'd be like, hey, here's a guitar.
No, like if you work at Guitar Center, you can get a Gibson guitar for less money than a Gibson employee can. So I never did buy one. And at the time, I was still very much, already very much a Telly guy. I was into Tellys. I didn't have any desire to have a Les Paul at the time. And I was playing a GNL ASAT Classic back then. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a GNL's take on a Telly. But that's what I had. And I had that, and I had a Strat, and I had an amp, and I had a Taka Mini acoustic. That's all I had. That was my whole guitar collection.
So were you trying to do like open mics while you're in Nashville, doing songwriting sessions, or?
Yeah, I tried as much as I had time for. Eventually, I quit Gibson, and
what did Nashville look like?
Way different town, man. Like if you go now, like every bar on Broadway is like a double or even triple decker bar, and They're all like corporate owned. Back in 06, 07, 08, 09, 2010, like there weren't half as many bars to begin with. There was way less of them on
It was
Broadway.
more just a music.
Broadway was a smaller
recording.
scene. There, and Music Row was very much a recording scene. There's studios that existed back then that don't exist anymore. Broadway was cool because like there were so many great bands and so many incredible guitar players. Like I moved to Nashville with kind of like a big ego, and I thought I was a hot picker, and I thought I was a great songwriter.
You got to.
Until I saw the monsters that lurk there, and I'm like, gee, I have a lot to work on. I need to either get good or go home, you know? So every bit of spare time I had that first couple years, I almost didn't dare to play very many open mics because I was like, man, I need to get
These
better.
guys are good.
Yeah, like I need to write better songs. I need to co-write. I need to learn some of these licks because like there's players that just do things that just blow your mind. And these are players you never even heard of. These are just players at Tootsie's, you know, some guy just shredding on a Telecaster and he's just killing it. So I used to follow my favorite pickers around like a crazy ex-girlfriend and try to steal all their licks and ask them questions. And one day, the Dustin Wilkes band was playing at Tootsie's, and I wasn't even old enough to be in Tootsie's. They'd let you in before like 6 if you weren't 21. So I wised up. I'd go all the time and just shoot the breeze with the bouncers and kind of get friendly with them and never tell them how old I was. And I would I'd get in there early and I'd hide out somewhere and stay all night in one bar, you know what I mean? But that bouncer would see me late at night so many times, he just assumed I was old enough. So eventually I could just walk up in there at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. He's like, oh, hey, Taylor, come on in. You know what I mean? So I'd hang out at Tootsie's, and this one night, Dustin Wilkes band was playing. They had this guitar player named Brad Wolf, who was like, to me, as a young kid, I thought he was just like larger than life, coolest. He looked cool, had a cool image and cool hair, and played like a double bound black telly. He'd smoke a cigarette while he's playing, smoke rising up, and he'd take that cigarette from time to time and stick it in his headstock, and it'd kind of burn his telly, and he didn't seem to give a shit about that, and even that was cool, you know. And I'd follow him around. I'd ask him how to play some licks that I'd seen him do, and one day he wanted to go outside and have a smoke break. I think he saw a cute chick out there he wanted to talk to, and he pointed at me, then pointed at his guitar, and I'm like,
Fill in?
yeah. I'm like, you want me? So, yeah, he took it off and handed it to me. And he left me alone to play that guitar. And I'd play a song or two, and he'd like, do another one, you know, yelling from outside. And that was my like first time playing with a band in Nashville. And the owner of Tootsie's was there that night and heard me. And he was like, hey, man, it's like, you think you can put a band together? I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, let's talk. Let's book you your own gig here. So that's where it all started.
Okay.
All because the Dustin Wilkes band let me set in, and Brad Wolf needed a smoke/flirt break.
Yeah, man. Is Dustin Wilkes still around? Does he still play a little? You keep up with any of them?
I don't know. He was on that show, the same one that made Miranda Lambert famous, Nashville Star. He was on there, I think, the same season as Chris Young.
Okay.
And all that. And like
I
he was
haven't
really
heard of
going
that.
somewhere, and then all of a sudden you just never heard of Dustin Wilkes anymore. But he was really good.
Yeah, so you started playing around at Tootsie's a couple of times, and
Played at Tootsie's. I played at Robert's Western World a few times. I played at the Stage. I played at Rippy's.
you run into any big famous guys that were out there?
Oh yeah, a lot of them, man. And you run into famous people in Nashville all the time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, and when you do, it's you kind of just don't make a big deal out of it. I mean, at first, like your first time running into a celebrity, like holy crap, but then like you really just run into them everywhere, and it gets to the point where in Nashville, it's kind of like it's like a faux pas to go up and bother them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I ran into Faith Hill at Walmart. I just kind of like gave her a head nod.
Hey.
You know what I mean? But like walking away, I'm like, oh, it's Faith Hill. You know,
Yeah,
it's like as a
dude.
kid, I had a kind of crush on her. But then I ran into Jason Aldean at the mall. I ran into I met Mark Colley at Tootsie's. All kind of people, man.
Did you ever try doing I know Chris Stapleton worked for like that songwriting company for 10 years. He like was forced to write 4 or 5 songs a day. Did you ever get interested in doing anything like that?
Man, I did a lot of that. I call it writing by committee, co-writing
Yeah.
by committee. Did a ton of that stuff just to try to get a foot in the door as a writer. And honestly, that's how I got to be a much better writer, writing with a lot of Nashville writers. And it wasn't long after I moved to Nashville, really, like probably only like a few months. And I really credit this as being something that helped me grow a lot into the writer that I am now. But when I first moved to Nashville, the apartment complex I was living in had this bunkhouse, like a kind of like a clubhouse. That's like a gym, and above it there's like a loft where you could just lounge around. It also had a recording studio that you could use. And I was up there picking my guitar and singing. And one day this kind of sweaty head pokes up over the banister. He'd been working out in the bottom, little gym area downstairs, and he's like, "Hey man, you sound pretty good. Like, are these songs you're playing, are they your songs?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay. How many songs do you think you've written?" And I was like real proud of myself. I was like, "Man, I've written like 20 songs." And he's like, "Cool, man. Well, my name's Walt. Why don't you come visit me at my studio sometime and play me some of your songs? I'd like to hear a few of them." And gave me his card. And I'm like, "Oh, cool, Walt. Yeah, sure. I'd love to do that." I didn't know who he was. I had to get home and fire up the old PC and Google him. Well, it turned out to be Walt Aldridge, who had written at that time like 13 or 14 number one hits.
How old was he?
If I had to guess, he was probably like 50 years old or something at the time. He wasn't that old.
Okay.
But I mean, he just looked like a regular dude, but he had written a bunch of hits. He like Holding Her and Loving You by Earl Thomas Conley, There Ain't No Getting Over Me by Ronnie Millsap.
Oh, wow.
Like all kinds of hit songs. And so all of a sudden I was like, "Oh crap," and here I was like boasting that I had written 20 songs. He had almost that many hits, So, but I went to visit him in his studio, and he's like, "Play me a song," So I'd play him one, and about halfway through it, and he'd stop me. "Play me another one." I'm like, "Oh shit," and now I'm nervous.
That was my best one.
Start getting some sweaty palms, So I'd play him another one, and he'd close his eyes, like he really listened, and he'd be like, he's like, "I want to give you an assignment." He's like, you got potential, but he's like, "Your songs kind of sometimes they take too long to grab me, or they don't have a hook, I'm like, "Well, what's a hook?" Then he had to explain to me what a hook was, and he said, "Look, I want you to go home and listen to some artists. Listen to Jason Aldean, go listen to Rascal Flatts, and go listen to George Strait. And I want you to," it's like, "if you want to be a songwriter, I want you to go home, listen to a bunch of songs by these artists, and try to nail down what makes Jason Aldean Jason Aldean. Nail down his Jason Aldeanness, and nail down Rascal Flatts' Rascal Flatness, and George Strait's George Straitness. Like, what is it that makes a George Strait song a George Strait song? What defines that style?" I mean, granted, these people don't necessarily write all their own songs, but they cut songs that do have a certain kind of style to them, kind of continuity to them. And he's like, "If you're going to be a writer and you're going to pitch songs to artists, you need to know how to tailor a song to them. And you need to know how to write
Taylor
in a
Nauta a
style."
song to them, or make a song for them?
See what you did there. So, I did my best to do that. I'd go listen. He's like, "I want you to go home and write me a Rascal Flatts song. I want you to write me a Jason Aldean song. And I want you to write me a George Strait song, and come back and play them for me. Let me know when you've done it." And I did my best, and he didn't really like any of them, but but he told me why. He'd break it down. "Well, you kind of missed the mark here, and here's why. And you missed the mark here, and here's why." And I did this a few times. Come to his, and eventually invited me to his apartment, and he would listen to my songs, critique them, teach me some principles about songwriting, which I really took to heart and tried to implement. And it was just, I'm really grateful for it, because if it hadn't been for him, where would my songwriting have ended up? Like, I grew a lot, and I grew pretty quick from that one connection. And then I met other hit writers too that taught me some things. Oh man, so first time I ever went to his house, he just lived in a little apartment. He brought out this old black Gibson, this beat up old guitar, and put it in my hands. And he's like, "Hey, check this out. What do you think of this?" And so stupid, playing it, and I'm like, "Oh, sounds kind of dead. It's kind of thumpy." Like, Like and it was the first. I had never really played vintage guitars before. This is an old Gibson from like probably the 40s or 50s. I don't know, but kind of beat up, and the intonation wasn't very good, and I was just kind of like put my foot in my mouth because like, man, it doesn't really sound all that good, honestly. Like it's kind of, I don't know, kind of a bear to play. And he's like, well, that was Johnny Cash's guitar.
Huh.
I'm like, oh,
Sorry.
dang. And he's like, yeah, and I got it from Marty Stewart. Johnny Cash gave it to Marty Stewart, and Marty Stewart gave it to me. I'm like,
Oh, wow. Now it sounds so much better.
dude, I'm like, I need to learn to just keep my freaking mouth shut, man. Like, just because something's true doesn't mean it needs to be said. And also I was like, why am I even, like, I don't even want to hold it now. Now I'm terrified I'm going to drop it. And
Yeah, I guess I'll go home now.
scratch it. Oh, dude. So that was a lesson learned too, but he had all kinds of cool things like that, cool guitars, and he was a really humble guy, and but he was really direct and to the point. And I needed that. I needed somebody to just tell me what was wrong with my songs.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it, and he didn't hold back.
That's kind of, whenever I got into songwriting, and I always kind of liked writing songs, but I would always, whenever I would write a song or think I finished a song, I was like, this is the best song. As soon as you finished it, just because it's finished, you think it's great.
Oh,
but then I started hanging out, the guy that first produced my first record, Keith Sykes, and he wrote some songs for Jimmy Buffett, John Prine, and Jerry Jeff Walker. And we'd go hang out with these guys. I'd go to his songwriting festivals. And like on that picture behind you, that's Keith and Rodney Cook, who wrote I Want to Teach the World to Dance, Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like from England or something. But we were recording some of our music at his studio in Memphis. And he was like, hey, Roger Cook's going to come by. And I'm like, okay, don't know who that is. And he's like, oh, he wrote Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. I'm like, wrote it? So anyways, you get to hanging out with people like that. Sean Camp, just I got to meet the lady who wrote Susan Gibson, who wrote the White Chick songs, the Chicks now or whatever. But just being around the songwriters, like they just do this I thought it was the coolest thing because it's like you wrote that, and like no one knows who they are. They're just regular, wonderful people.
Yeah.
A lot of songwriters are just the funniest people. They are just the most charismatic people. And it's like, well, why aren't you can sing this better than the person that sang it
to this day, that's one of my favorite things. Is just like I like to hear songwriters sing their songs. Like, look, don't get me wrong. Like, Morgan Wallen did a great job on Cover Me Up, but I like to hear Jason Isbell do it because that's his song. He poured his heart and soul into it. And he used to be an addict, and that song is about being loved through addiction. Loved in spite of your demons, and you believe it when Jason Isbell sings it because he lived it, And it's like I love hearing the original songwriters take on something, and sometimes it's not like that their vocal performance is better than the artists that cut it, but there's a genuineness in it though,
Oh
like,
yeah,
and songwriters do tend to be really cool, interesting, down to earth people more
just
often
so
than not.
down to earth. I mean, it's like, dude, do you know how famous you are? Just nobody knows who you are.
Their songs are famous, but they're not. You know what I mean? And like they're kind of behind the scenes, and they're content to be sort of anonymous. And I love that. Like, man, I'll never forget the first time I met Wood Newton. He was a songwriter showcase at the Bluebird Cafe. I forget who else was in that. No, I do remember who else was in the round. It was Wood Newton, Mike Loudermilk, and this girl named Rachel Williams, powerhouse vocalist. I wonder if she's still doing it. But anyway, I didn't know this guy. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who any of these people were. I just saw that there was something going on at the Bluebird, so I went. But this dude shows up kind of late, like rolled in on two wheels and got in there kind of disheveled. Had a real frayed, just wore out looking t-shirt, a greasy ball cap. He looked like he'd been working on a car,
Probably was.
He probably was. And he had written a bunch of hits. He wrote Bobby Sue for the Oak Ridge Boys.
Oh my gosh.
And he's just like super chill and humble guy, and tell you a little story while he's tuning his guitar. And like, I was just like, this is cool, man. I'm in a small room with these hit writers, but Nashville's full of people like that, and it's full of opportunities to see and meet people like that. And that's probably my favorite thing about Nashville. There's a lot of things I don't like about Nashville. It's a very corporate place now, especially, and it can be very disingenuous. Nashville is an easy place to make associates, make contacts. It's a hard place to make friends because whenever you meet anybody,
They're trying to one up you or something.
or at the very least, they're trying to size you up. They're trying to make a quick appraisal of who you are and what you can do for them. And if they don't feel like you can do much for them, they kind of subconsciously don't want to invest themselves too much in getting to know you because everybody's trying to howdy. And as they're shaking their hand and shaking your hand and talking to you, they're kind of looking over your shoulder to see who else might be around that they need to talk to. And if somebody else who has more clout than you is behind you, they're going to quickly go talk to that person.
You know,
that's the Nashville thing.
My man Keith Sykes, he was like, man, if you really want to do this, you're gonna have to move to Nashville. And I'd heard somebody say it before that, like, why move to a place where everyone is trying to do the same thing and they're like, all of them are way better than you. And I mean, nowadays, I think back in the 90s, that was a thing. You had to move to Nashville if you wanted to do something like that. But now you don't really need to go anywhere.
It depends on your goal, man.
You
if you want to be an artist, honestly, I think the best thing is to not move to Nashville because, like you said, Nashville's real saturated. You got there's a million songwriters and a million artists there, and all of them are great. So it's hard to stand out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also, it's very expensive, to do the Nashville thing. To record in Nashville costs a fortune. You're better off making a big splash wherever you're from and letting the ripples of that splash reach Nashville. That's the best thing you can do is become as big a deal as you can in the small pond that you're from. That's the best move as an artist. But if your goal is to be a songwriter and write songs for artists, you want to be a published songwriter, you want to be a staff writer on a publisher, Nashville is the place to be because
I can agree with that.
You need to be there because
you got to write together every day, all the time.
Yeah, you need to be co-writing with people, and the more people you co-write with, the better chances of getting a cut you have. And
it's incredibly hard to write if you're not in the same room. Sending ideas back to, it's not the most optimal way to write. I don't find it's the most optimal way to write a song. Let me send you my version of it. All right, then, well, let me see, you send me this version of it. Well, if we were both right there working on it, it works a lot better.
Well, for sure, that's absolutely true. But other than that too, like the songwriting world and the pitching world isn't what it was decades ago. Like it used to be, you could be somebody like Chris Christopherson and be a freelance songwriter without a publisher, and get a big artist to cut your song. You could pitch a song to an artist, and if he liked it, he could cut it. Right? It doesn't work like that anymore. Like nowadays, big labels only want their artists to cut songs that are published by publishers that they own.
It's just dirty.
It's keeping it all in house, keeping all the money in house. So, like, if I wrote a song that I think is perfect for Morgan Wallen,
they don't care.
He's not going to cut that song, not unless it's under his publisher. You know what I'm saying, or whatever. Like that's just an example. And some artists now own their own publishers and have their own staff writers who write just for them. And they only write songs that are published through the publishing company that they own. They only cut songs that are written by staff writers on their publisher that they own. So if you're like Chris Christopherson wrote Sunday Morning Coming Down, and he landed a helicopter in Johnny Cash's backyard to get him to listen to it and record it. Billy Joe Schaefer barged into a session with Waylon Jennings to force him to listen to a tape of some songs he'd wrote. And the audacity of these men made those artists all right, let me hear what you got. And they loved the songs and they cut them. You couldn't do that now. Like even if you had a helicopter and could land it in some big artist's yard, it's not going to get you a cut. They'd be like, I applaud your audacity, but unfortunately,
sometimes I wonder, like Zach Bryan, he's huge right now, and it's like, man, how do you come out? You just released a 30-song album, and then 2 months later you do it again. It's like, where did you get? And you're telling me you wrote those songs? You wrote 60 songs a year. I mean, you know how long it would take a normal person, to get 60 songs to release? I mean,
I wrote 60 songs this last year.
Yeah,
about that many. I write a lot of songs. I churn out a bunch. I've written far more songs than I'll ever have the budget to record.
Well, I guess my point is like he wrote them, but not really. Like he maybe wrote. That's what I think.
Well, hey, a word's a third.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
But,
Well, so after Nashville, so what made you decide to leave Nashville?
I didn't want to leave Nashville. I was there for a long time. You know, there was a few little brief stints where I'd left Nashville, went somewhere else. Briefly went back to Utah because I ran out of money, and there was a girl. Didn't last long. Quickly went back to Nashville. Then I had an opportunity to go play red dirt in Texas, so I went to Texas for like a year and did that. And
What
went
part of
back to
Texas were you
Nashville.
living in?
Dallas, actually Carrollton, but that's Dallas. You
Yeah.
know, and I was with this red dirt band called Satin Stone, and that was a fun thing. It was fun to do that Texas thing, and like you know, we're talking about the
I like
ragweed
Dallas.
days.
Yeah.
You know, Cross Canadian ragweed was still together. You know, and you could still see Stony LaRue in a relatively small club.
Stony LaRue.
Yeah, so it was a cool time to be in Texas doing the Texas country thing because it had not by any means taken the country by storm. You know, like it was a niche thing still.
I always liked Texas music, like Jerry Jeff, one of my all-time favorite artists.
Yeah.
You know, Billy Joe Shaver.
Yeah.
Those guys just got, and like now it's kind of making a comeback, that Texas music, you know, with Flatland Cavalry.
It's
Those
huge,
guys are
man.
so good.
And it's, you know, Texas music has changed. Like when I was doing the Texas country thing, when I got on that bandwagon, Texas country was raw and it was really different than Nashville country. And that was the whole appeal of it. You know, Nashville is this spit-shined, polished, quantized, overproduced commercial country music,
Right.
whereas Texas country was just like this 4-piece, 5-piece grungy rock band country, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know. But now, dude, it's hard to distinguish the Texas country from the Nashville country sometimes. Some of these Texas artists sound just as spit-shined as Nashville artists, and the recordings are just as produced.
Like Parker, you know, Parker McCollum, he's still one. I like a lot of his stuff, but man, when he first came out with like Limestone Kid, it was like you could tell that was raw Texas. That was all him.
Oh yeah. Go listen to like a ragweed
Yeah.
record, and now listen to any Texas country artist of like currently. Big difference in production value and kind of like
Everybody's trying to
rawness.
fit the form, you know. You're trying to be successful as best you can, and
Yeah. So anyway, so you asked why I left Nashville. Make a long story short, I went through a pretty bad divorce. I had married this girl up there who was actually Merle Kilgore's granddaughter. I don't know if you know who Merle Kilgore was.
I remember this story.
Hank Jr.'s manager for many years.
Yeah.
He co-wrote Ring of Fire with June Carter. You know, so he was kind of a big mover and shaker. And anyway, he's married to his granddaughter. And after that marriage went up in smoke, I came back here to lick my wounds. And I had only intended to stay here for like, I don't know.
Here is in Louisiana.
Yeah, I had to go somewhere because, man, that marriage, she was too generous with her affections, put it that way, and I didn't appreciate it. And come to find out that she was generous with my drummer and my band at the time, you know, so I left her and the band at the same time because the betrayal happened at both places, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I don't want to be with her no more, and I don't want to play with him no more, you know, in light of that. So my source of revenue was gone because I was playing with that band for a living, and so I was quickly just running.
How old are you then?
25. Yeah.
Dang, you were there for a long time. For a
Yeah.
pretty good while.
Pretty good while. So anyway, ran out of money because, like, you know, trying to pay rent and then I had 2 little kids, you know, so quickly running out of money. I'm like, I got to go somewhere where I have family and friends I can lean on. So I came back here, got a job, and I was going to only stay here for like 6 months, maybe a year, and then I just kind of stayed put. I met the girl who's now my wife, and that kind of got me stuck here. But I don't regret it, man. I love it. Nashville's a cool place, and it's been good to me.
I haven't been in a while, but what were you doing as a job when you came back over here?
Oh man, when I had to just take what I could get when I first got here. I was waiting tables. I just got a server job and did that. Worked at Mason's Grill.
You probably had some great wine recommendations.
Plenty of wine recommendations. I'm a wine geek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You come off as you can explain anything well. You know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
Away with words, songwriter. You know?
Man, I mean, isn't that a songwriter's job?
Yeah, that's
to
right.
be able to distill a big idea down into a relatively small statement, to be able to make the effable somehow.
Yeah. How did you get your wife, Katie? How did you meet her? And
So, met her on Plenty of Fish, and it was funny because she sort of ignored me on there. She had this bio that said, "Don't even bother to reach out to me if you're just going to be like, hey, what's up? Like, you better send me something with substance, or else I'm not going to even respond." Right?
she was asking for it.
So I'm like, okay. So I sent her like, a well thought out message. I even commented on some pictures that she'd had. Seen a picture of her holding an alligator. I'm like, you must be the most Cajun girl in South Louisiana. And she, her last name's Bourgeois. So, but I went and checked back and it said read. She didn't respond. So I'm like, all right. So you said you wouldn't respond if somebody sent you something with no substance, and I bent over backwards to send you something substantive, and you still didn't respond. So I wrote her this like snarky poem clowning on her hypocrisy, and that made her laugh, and she responded. She came and she's like, "That was so stupid, but now I want to meet you," basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so she come and saw me play. I had a gig at a little daiquiri shop, New Orleans Original Daiquiris on Highway 30.
Okay.
And she come and hung out, and the very next night we went and got drinks together at Spanky's, and we've just been together ever since, like inseparable. Just kind of naturally happened.
Do y'all have any kids together?
No kids together. I got 2 from a previous marriage, and she's got 1. None together.
Okay.
We've been together almost 11 years. This let's see, April will be 11 years.
Well, man, the first time you came in, I met you. I was actually playing. It might have been 2021 or 2022. We were doing that Denham Springs
Food Truck Festival.
And you're very kind to me and said, "Man, I like your sound." You gave me your number, and I was like, "Oh, it's a Nashville number." And you're like, "Yeah, I lived in Nashville for a while, and if you need anything, you want to write together sometime soon, and I'd love to get with you." And I'm like, "Oh,
Hey,
awesome!" So,
I meant that. We still need to get together in person, actually.
I know. Yes, we
Right,
do.
man.
Yes, we do. This past year, I kind of took somewhat of a break. I think I'd played myself pretty tough the year before, and I was like, man, you know what? I was trying really hard to make it or make something of, and man, it kind of takes a toll on you sometimes, and you just need to step back sometimes and remember why you did it in the first place. You know what I mean? So I went to a couple of my friends' shows. Like I was talking about this on another podcast, but like go to Lafayette, man, and Lafayette, the music scene is so cool, dude. And they have venues over there where it's all about the vibe and the music. And it's like, man, I wish we had something like that over here in Baton Rouge. There's just really not a thing like that where musicians can come and hang out. And
We used to have that, the Catery.
oh yeah, I've never been there.
Yeah, I mean, that burned down, 2010, 2000, I'm trying to remember when that went away, but like that was the closest thing we ever had to that here. I wholeheartedly agree. I think that Baton Rouge really needs to have more of a scene for songwriters, for original music, and more solidarity, and make a community out of the songwriters, out of the musicians. Like you used to kind of have that with like the indie bands in this town. They were like a community, but now there's nothing even closely approximating that.
Yeah, not to take anything away from it, but like we're not gonna have the daiquiri shops and the restaurants. It's like, well, that's not really that's not really a venue to go and hang out with musicians.
No, and my favorite music venue in town is gone now, man. The Red Dragon.
Oh yeah, Chris Maxwell over there.
Yeah, dude, I love him to death, and I loved that place. I loved playing there, and I loved going to see shows there because it was like this cool. You had couches, and it was intimate, and it was small, and you could see local songwriters, and even like, big people like us, Dina Carter or whoever, people that were big in the '90s, kind of.
Yeah, my dad used to have Keith Sykes would come and play over there. Richard Lee, Larry Joe Taylor. They'd stay at my dad's house, and he'd go over there and bring him over there. And Guy Clark, my dad had first seen Guy Clark, but then he passed away like right after they had met.
Love Guy Clark, man. I play some of his songs.
Yeah, I love Guy Clark. And then I went and watched him a couple times, and then Michael Murphy, I saw him over there, and man, the Band of Heathens. I saw them live over there, and I sent them a DM. One of my favorite Band of Heathen songs is 40 Days. And I'm like, man, they're not going to. This is when they're huge with that song, Hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent them a DM, and I was like, guys, I'm going to be at the Red Dragon on Sunday. If y'all would play 40 Days, that'd be awesome. And I never got anything back. We were sitting there, and Ed Jordy, one of the lead singer.
I don't know what his name is.
And it was Ed and the other guy. And anyways, he was like, man, we got a request, and we haven't played the song in probably 10 or 15 years. And whoever sent the request, I sure hope you're out there because we all had to remember how to play it again. And he's like, anyways, here's 40 Days. And I was like, oh, my God.
You're a fangirl, huh?
I was. And you know how they take a little intermission, and you can go just talk to them. They're just right there. And then he brought me on stage and was like, so this is how I play it right here. And he was like trying to remember himself. And I was like, this is so cool. So, yeah, that was a cool place, Red Dragon.
It was, man. But, I think that, like, it's on us to kind of build that community we want to see. And I think what you're doing here is going to help that. You're bringing local artists and local music industry adjacent people in here.
Yeah, man. Like, it could, there just needs, and it could definitely happen. I mean, I just think it's so spread out in Baton Rouge, Denham Springs area that there's not really a place where people can go together. I mean, I wish I could open up a bar like the Blue Moon Saloon in Lafayette.
Oh, that's a cool place.
That's the coolest place ever.
I've played there a few times. I love that place. The owner's really cool too.
Yeah.
He genuinely loves music, and I think that's what it takes is to have a venue owner that just genuinely loves music and loves original music and wants to foster that and see it happen. Because that's exactly why the Blue Moon Saloon is as cool as it is, because the owner's as cool as he is.
Dude.
And there's a lot of people like him. He's not an exception. He's not a rarity in Lafayette. There's a lot of people in Lafayette that appreciate art. And I feel like art in general, not just musical art, but visual art too. I think art is kind of underappreciated in Baton Rouge. This is a corporate town.
Yeah.
It's not mom and pop enough.
Lafayette's kind of like Austin,
It is.
It's like...
It's kind of the Austin of Louisiana.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I've never thought about it like that, but it really is.
Yeah, man. And Baton Rouge is just kind of like up and down. This is what it is. And it's like, you go have your dinner, you go listen to the band that's in the corner. I mean, they got the Texas Club and stuff, but like that's kind of like a big, large venue. They don't have anything that's very intimate anymore, like the Red Dragon.
The Texas Club is not really an intimate setting.
No, yeah, it's just a very big. It's a great place to go see a live band. But
yeah, I mean, I've seen some cool shows there, and a great time can be had, but it's not the kind of time we're talking about.
Yeah,
it's not a Red Dragon listener.
I've been to like Chelsea's Live is a really cool place too. That's and that sounds great in there.
But that's almost another Texas club. It's pretty big. It's pretty big, and it's a big stage, and artists seem kind of unapproachable on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is a huge. It's like a 6-foot stage to get up there.
Yeah.
But
it's loud.
We went in there, and I played over there. They just really outdo themselves with that green room back there. Like, they got a washing machine, they got showers, they got couch TVs, you get your own little rooms. It's really sick. And they're like, hey, man, you need any drinks? And I love that. That's awesome.
The answer to that is always yes.
You feel like a pro.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm with you. I think we need to do better in Baton Rouge. Maybe we need to just like talk some sense into some venue owners around here. Be like, hey, man, we need to do more original music in here.
I know.
And we need to foster this. This needs to be like a hub for where musicians are just going to hang out and do their thing.
Yeah, like no food served. No, just...
Man, the food ain't so much the problem. You know what the problem is TVs. TVs.
Yes, I agree too.
You know, like when there's 14 TVs on the wall and they got all kinds of different sports ball games on. You got everything from baseball, basketball, football. It's like you end up playing to the backs of people's heads. And also pool tables. Like, you needs to be a place where music is what's happening. Music is the focal point.
There's nothing but chairs. There's chairs. You can sit and listen.
Yeah, and you can eat. Some of the greatest spots in Nashville, you can eat, but that's all you can do. You can eat and you can listen. You can eat, drink, and listen. That's it.
There's a cool place in Memphis, Lafayette's. That's a sick place. Like, they got an upstairs. Chase Tyler goes and plays there now and then.
I don't think I've been there.
It's called Lafayette's Music Room. But I've been there a couple times when I was in Memphis. There's always it's a large venue. They got a wraparound thing upstairs, and there's a bunch of seating downstairs. But yeah, it's just like something like that. I think it could happen.
Have you been to Maine and Monroe in Lexington, Tennessee?
Never been to Lexington, no.
Not much going on in Lexington, but they got this really cool venue called Maine and Monroe. It's pretty small.
I think I've heard of it.
It's great. It's got a small stage that's, I don't know, maybe 2 feet tall. It's just high enough to where you're sitting up higher than everybody, and everybody in the room can see you. It's a real small room.
Mm-hmm.
Probably if you put 50 people in there, it's like packed, But they got tables, and the food's good, and everybody's eating and drinking. It's kind of a quiet, dimly lit setting, but the people that come there, they really like hearing the songs. It's kind of known that this is a music place.
Yeah.
There's no TVs. It's just people just eating and drinking.
I never even thought about that.
Like
the TVs
that's the worst.
an issue,
It's the main problem, man. Like too many of these places that are hiring live music is kind of like an afterthought, and it's kind of like background noise, and you got so much distraction, and it's soul sucking for the artist because you're singing to maybe 5 people who care and 55 people who don't, and it's just kind of a drag. If you're gonna have live music and don't have any other entertainment. And if you have 15 TVs, fine, turn them off. Turn them off that night.
Dude, I went and played at this place in Alexandria, East Side Daiquiris, and it's a big old outside daiquiri thing. We were playing outside, and they had a DJ inside, and then above me outside is a 70-inch TV with music video on it. And I didn't even know it was on until like we're done halfway playing. I turn around, I'm like, well, what in the world? And it's like booty shaking music video, and they're doing like rap inside. And I'm like, hey, I go up to the DJ, I'm like, hey, can you like not play while I'm playing?
What venue is this?
It was called East Side Daiquiris.
Man, have you ever played at Boudreaux and Thibodeau's? You ever played up on the balcony at Boudreaux and Thibodeau's?
No.
So I used to play on the balcony back in the day, like the first few years when I moved back here. And it was like that. They'd have you set up out on that balcony playing your country music, but then you're right here next to you is this big window pane, and in there it's like a club, and like hip hop music and like
it's insane. It's like, what are we doing?
It's so loud. Yeah, and you can hear it, and you're trying to play over it, and like crazy.
It's like if I'm playing music and I can hear the other music playing, there's something wrong.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what are you gonna do with that? It's crazy, dude.
There's a lot of good artists in Baton Rouge, and there's quite a good bit of songwriters too. And it's like, man, it could be a cool place too. It just needs I don't know, just needs something.
We have no shortage of talent. Shortage of talent, and it's been fun to watch the songwriters that we have grow and kind of blossom into better songwriters. Because I've seen them, some little kid comes on the scene, like Ben Ragsdale, like when he was young, first starting out, he was literally a kid when he was starting out, and now he's out there writing really solid songs, and he's turned into a super cool dude, and it's been fun because it's been like watching him grow up.
Right.
You know what I mean? From a distance,
and it takes guys like guys that's been around for a while, like you and like Kyle Wilson. And,
Kyle's a monster.
It's like those guys, they have no problem sitting down and writing with you. That's what they love to do. And then like you're learning from that way. And like, in 10 years, 20 years, Ben would be the one doing that to somebody else that's coming up.
It's going to happen. And so 10 years from now, he's going to be the one giving some young kid advice. Have you heard anything that Kyle and Ben have written together? Supposedly Kyle Wilson and Ben Ragsdale got together and done some writing, and I haven't heard what they've done yet. But
no, I don't believe so.
You can't write a bad song with Kyle Wilson.
Yeah. Didn't Kyle write some pretty big songs?
He's had some cuts. I know he's had some cuts with like Drake White and I forget who else.
Yeah.
But whether he's had big hits or not, he's certainly had some songs that are as good as any big hits I've ever heard. He's got some really solid songs. He's got this song that he's probably sick of me requesting it, but every single time I see him play or play with him anywhere, I always ask him to play this song called No Stranger to the Flame. That's a great song.
Is that a Drake White song?
No.
That's his?
His song.
He
hasn't recorded it yet.
Okay.
It's not out anywhere. Dude, he needs to record that.
I ran into him. I was at the Floribama. They had the Frank Brown songwriting concert. And Keith Sykes was playing with one of his friends at it was a Jimmy Buffett tribute type thing, so they were going back and forth. And Kyle was in there, and I bought him a drink, and I was like, "What's up, Kyle? Been a while since I've seen him." So I know you got some songs coming out, dude. This will be I know you've written some new stuff. So Taylor, I want to say thank you for coming out today. Coming to have a little We're Doing Fine podcast. This is episode 13, and the first one with some live music, guys. Taylor, where are you playing at next? I'm gonna have this out probably tonight or tomorrow.
Man, honestly, I'd have to look at my phone and see. I don't even know when I'm playing next. Tell you what, I'll tell you, and you can post it.
Okay.
And if you follow me, I'll post it and see. I don't have a lot of shows on the calendar. I've kind of taken a step back, to be honest with you. I was gone for 5 months of this past year on the road playing shows, and like I'm 38 now, almost anyway. I'm turning 38 next month, and I'm kind of just getting tired of being away from my wife and kids that much.
I hear you, man.
You know, so like I've taken up a job selling cars. It's my first time having a day job in years. I've been doing music full time for a long time, but it's like it suddenly dawned on me that I've only got 4 summers left with my daughters, and I really just want to be as present as I can for them, you know, and I want to miss out on as little as possible. So I'm really booking less shows than ever moving forward. I'm still going to book some. I'm still going to do music. It's always going to be something I do. I'm going to keep writing and recording and putting songs out, but I'm not trying to do the road life thing.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's Taylor Nauta. They can find you on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
All the things, everywhere but OnlyFans, pretty much.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming out here today, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
And that's it from the We're Doing Fine podcast. See y'all later. All right, man. That was all.